Okay, here we are. It's May 27th. Garden updates. About 3 weeks since the last update. Here's our planter with our Confederate jasmine vines that are growing up. Megan also planted, you can start to see some of the wildflowers that she planted in here to sort of spruce up the look of this bed. But you can also see some of the flowers here, real pretty. And then we've got a fair amount of new growth, including this guy right here that's running all the way up to here. We're getting close to the top, and the idea behind these guys is that they'll produce a wall for us when we get to the evening time. All right, so coming out here, here's Heinz Hill. Last time it was just a stump with that pot on top of it. What we decided to do is put onions in here, and so I started planting them 1 week at a time in about batches of about 8, but then it started to get really hot, so I just planted this whole thing yesterday. So hopefully that'll have a bunch of these guys poking up here in a couple of days. And then these are cucumbers that I planted from seeds that have transplanted pretty well. I'm pretty happy with that. Over here I've planted, well, I didn't really plant, I just put down some paper towels with seeds for Italian cypress plants. They're like arborvitaes, and I had some left over, so I thought I'd put them out here to see. The rest of them are in kind of a more hospitable environment inside, next to a window in a kind of an incubation chamber. Lots of growth on our peach tree. Now that's looking good. Happy to see that that's making progress. And then back here in the patch, oh, so I didn't mention that's called Heinz Hill for a reason. Fans of was it Phineas and Ferb will recognize our little garden gnome played by Hans Doofenshmirtz. So it's, or Heinz Doofenshmirtz, so this is Heinz Hill, that's what we call Heinz Hill. And this we call the patch. A friend of mine at work gave me some tomato plants from her garden, some suckers that she didn't care if they lived or died, so we thought we'd try them back here. Again, it's kind of shady, but we've got 5 of them. They've tripled in size since we planted them, about tripled in size, and I look forward to training these. These are indeterminate plants, so it'll be fun to train those up as they grow and see if they work. Our kale back there, those were also from seeds that I have transplanted, and they seem to be doing all right. They'll get nice and thick like broccoli, kind of, the stalk will, and then they produce a lot. So here's some of the extra seed pods for Italian cypress that I put out here. I'm pretty sure that little green speck there and that one are both weeds, because I've seen them growing in other places in the garden too. But, and usually it's, as they say, it's supposed to take a month or 2 for the seeds to start sprouting. And after having them in a fridge for a month, we planted them last weekend, and we'll see how they do. Still no progress on this guy. So this guy I'll talk about is probably the thing we'll plant our pepper pot, or plant another pepper plant in, because they're perennials. And then, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got 1 or 2 little pots back there too that they're left over from the previous tenants that we may use. So I took the main, you can see the hose, right now it's connected to the sprinkler, but I have it hooked up to this guy right here, and then it splits off to both that far garden and this one. This is what we call the San Antonio DMZ, sort of like the DMZ in Troutdale. Just a lot of really rooty tree type plants that are really hard to get rid of. So we've tried to dig them out every year, and they just keep coming back. This vine, we tried to take it out too, but it gets pretty flowery, so we're kind of probably just gonna let it go every year, because it is really pretty when it gets all done. Here's the tomato plants. You can see that we've got some Romas that are starting to ripen down there, which is nice. We've gotten one piece of fruit off of this so far that was yummy. The other one fell off, and before I found it, the ants had gotten to it. But it looked okay. They're pretty small. I think we're definitely going to make sure that we get indeterminate plants next year. This guy, whatever it is, some kind of tomato, I'm not sure which kind, seems to be doing well. This one in the middle here too is also not Roma on the backside, but I'm not sure, again, what it is. I'm not expert enough to know. Our strawberries are doing well. So these are determinate plants, or supposed to be determinate plants. And I pruned them anyway, even though they say you're not supposed to. But they were just, we planted too many too close. And they were just kind of, felt like they were choking each other. So we thinned them out, or I did anyway. So these are the strawberries. You can see that the runners that they were starting to put out, oh, she's putting on a new one now. We've potted them in these separate little Jiffy pots. And when they have good established roots, I'll cut the, my finger's in a different place in the video than it is, like this guy right here, the umbilical, we'll cut that, and then we'll transplant them from here where the ants get at them real easy up to our gutters, where hopefully the ants will not be able to get them quite so well. We drilled some drainage holes underneath. We'll put some drainage fabric in and then put some peat moss and then the rest, potting soil and whatnot in there, and transplant them. Our peppers are doing great. All the peppers that you can see on these guys are second generation, so I've already pulled I think a dozen or so off for infusing oil, which I did this morning, and making salsa, and they were delicious. So we're gonna let these ones get a little bit bigger before we pull them off, but man, I'm ready for salsa batch 2. It was really good. The garlic's doing well, as you can see. This stuff doesn't need as much water, they say, so I've been trying to water it a little bit less. And then you can see the few, I think this may be the only onion that's gonna, Walla Walla, that's gonna survive. This guy might, I don't know, we'll see. And that guy probably won't. And then I've got some transplants I'll show you in a sec. The corn obviously is doing well. The last time, if you remember, it was pretty small. And then I don't know if this is the beginning of an ear or how it works, but it'll be interesting to see as the corn grows how it matures, since I don't really know what to expect. There's all the tomato trimmings. There's my attempt to kill the grass that's growing in underneath the fence line. Stupid grass. Here is the planter that was empty last time, and you can see we've got some basil growing up and some cilantro. I'll thin out the basil once it starts to get bigger, but sadly none of the oregano, so I may have to get some more seeds, try them inside, and then bring them out. So we'll see. There's one little tiny seedling right there that may be basil, but may also be oregano. We'll see. Probably can only fit 1 or 2 oregano plants in here, but we'll see. Here's those onion seedlings. I need to get out here and water them. Let's see, we built kind of a ghetto trellis here for the blackberry brambles. They're thornless, so that's nice. And we're seeing some, there's a, I don't know if you can see it. Where is it with some flowers right there. So we may actually get a couple of pieces of fruit. We'll see. There's a couple down here too. But they're growing really well. Then our blueberries continue to put on a little bit of new growth. So the blueberries and the peaches, they hit right early in the season. So I think they may be done producing fruit. Maybe they'll do some more in the fall, I don't know. Here's the other side of the tomatoes. You can see the aromas down there. Some of them are starting to ripen. They're not very big. I've got all the ingredients growing now for the salsa. We'll see if I can actually produce enough actual food to make a batch of salsa. That would be fun. That is the goal. Anyway, that's it. May 27th garden update. Love you guys. Bye-bye.